Okay, so I'm going to do a follow-up video. I did a video on my bike, a short one, showing my bike and showing some of the mods that I did, the modifications. But there were a couple of questions about how I did it and what I did and stuff like that. And so I thought I'd go over it real quick. Well, hopefully it'll be quick. And explain what I did. So I changed the tires to Michelin Commander 3s, which are long lasting and very sticky tires. So I stayed with the same size for the front, which are 130/90s. And the back comes with 150s. And I went with 140s. And the reason I did that, where most people, generally they go bigger, if anything. I went with smaller because, number one, it's just not necessary to have a wider tire. It doesn't help. In fact, if it gets too wide, it affects the handling in a negative way. That 140 is, if you notice, the whole thing's oval. So if you're going on the back roads and you're riding left-hand, right-hand turns, the bike just sweeps in from one turn to the other and lays right over. But when you get into the wider tires, here, this will become somewhat flat. And once it gets on, you're going straight, it's on that flat, it doesn't want to kick over as easy. I mean, I know it sounds like a small detail, but I used to race bikes. And so I'm kind of a stickler for details and for good handling machines, because I flat tracked for a number of years, organized racing. I started on bikes, when I was 11 or 12, and, been rode for years and raced when I was younger. But so these 140s are plenty wide, for this type of bike. It just fits it better. So that's why I did that, and no other reason. And I'm really happy with these tires. Keep in mind when you're cornering, even if you have a really wide tire, the contact area on the edge when you're cornering is pretty much the same. It's not going to be a lot different even if you get a wider tire. So it's the wide tires, you get maybe a little more rubber is on the road when you're going straight, but there's plenty of width there for this bike. The other thing I did was the levers. So these are aftermarket levers. They're made by, I think it's called Tech, and right there's the name, TEC, and I think they're in England. You can find them on YouTube. I had some other ones that were shorter, a different brand, and I kind of liked them better. They were just a little bit shorter. They went to here, but they were kind of more or less the same as these. I really like those, but what I didn't realize was there's this piece right here, and see, that opens and closes and presses on that switch. If you don't have, and my shorter ones didn't have that, if you don't have that and you're not pressing in on that switch, for some strange reason, when you refill the tank with gas, it will not register that it's been filled. It won't tell you it's full. It'll just continue to show low, which is what happened to me when I put the other ones on. And then I did a little research, and that's what I figured it out. So then I went to these. I'm really happy with these. They're way better than the stock ones. The stock ones are kind of gaudy looking, and these are adjustable. They just fit the bike better. It's just that's a small detail. The other thing, I talked about the blinkers already. I'm very happy with those blinkers. I did a cat delete, did the airbox delete. The airbox delete didn't really probably make a lot of difference as far as power. But it just fits the bike. The looks of this bike, I've had it in different configurations. When I bought it, I put a big windshield on it, and I had the forward pegs that it comes with, because this is a Speedmaster model, and it had the swept back bars, the beach bars, with no risers. And it was comfortable and it was kind of cool looking. But I think this is what the bike wants to be. For me, I mean, like I said, my roots are in racing and flat tracking, and this more looks more like a bike set up for like that kind of stuff, and I'm used to that. The rider position by doing the mid pegs here with the controls, and these pegs are aftermarket. You could see that they're like half pegs. It gives you the ground clearance that you need for cornering. That in combination with the wheel and of course changing the exhaust system makes all the difference in the world. This bike lays down now. I mean, you could lay it. I can't scrape on this bike anymore. I mean, eventually I'm sure I could scrape something, but I just don't corner that low. You just know that it's not necessary to corner that low. This bike leans over. Stock, it doesn't lean over very much. I scraped right through the outer casing of the stock exhaust system. And then you also they have a thing on the pegs, like a little consumable, it looks like a little bolt sticking out, but it's not a bolt. Well, maybe it is. Anyway, it's made out of really soft material to scrape, to wear away, but it tells you when you're hitting. It's like a warning thing, for your pegs. All that was hitting, and without even really laying the bike over. So I changed all that out, and it made a big improvement. Like I said, I can pretty much lean this bike over pretty well because I'm a good rider. I mean, I can almost come to a stop sign and not even put my feet down. I have tremendous balance on a motorcycle. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I mean, that's just what my skill level's been at for many, many years, and so that's why I set a bike up like this. I think this is what the bike wants to be when it grows up anyway. As it comes, it's got the regulations, and with all the regulations and restrictions and stuff. That's the other thing. Once I got the airflow where I wanted by, the cat delete, airbox delete, and the exhaust system, I had the fuel trim remapped. I sent away for it, and they remapped it, and then I put it in. I downloaded it into the ECU. I actually did it twice. I did it once, and then I bought the exhaust system and changed it again. I've put like two different exhaust systems on here, and when I put this one on, I went ahead and had it mapped one more time. That was the single biggest improvement that I could have done. How can I explain? If this bike was a 5 before, remapping it made it a 10. The power increase was, I can't even exaggerate enough. It's I mean, without exaggerating, I should say, it just was incredible, the increase. Not a small increase, a big pickup of power, not torque, but raw horsepower. Kind of turning the engine into a high revving rocket ship. Now, by high revving, I mean remapping it. You get another 700 RPMs before the valves are floating, so you do pick up quite a bit of RPMs. But it's just an extension of range in each gear that you get. And because it's got the low end grunt, you still have that low end. But I honestly, I think I can get 55 miles an hour out of first gear now because by the increase in power, I was able to go up 2 teeth on the primary. And anybody knows gearing, if you go from a 16 to an 18 tooth, that's a pretty dramatic increase. And after I did that, it's like, wow, there's more. The bike has more. There's more. There's more to give. So I went 3 teeth down on the rear wheel, on the rear sprocket. And being a 6-speed, it really made 6 gear like unnecessary. Unless you want to do 120 miles an hour or something. You don't even need 6 gear anymore. I mean, it's there. It'll pull with 6 gear. But if you're going to remap it, by all means, I mean, you should at least change the primary. It just makes the bike more enjoyable to ride. It really does. But that's for me. I mean, you might not like it, but I wouldn't want to go back. And then the other things, I dressed it up with some paint. Wanted the fake carburetors to look more like carburetors, like the old Amel carburetors. So I painted that like a brass color, two-tone. I messed around with it a few times till I got it right. Painted it, wiped it down, did it again until I kind of got that antique-y look I was going for. I've talked about the wrap before. I mean, the reason I did this on top of that is I just ran out of things to do, and I need another project bike, and I'm starting to do. I'm kind of just redoing stuff, but I'm going to leave that for a while. It's kind of interesting. The other big improvement, and one I get a lot of comments or questions about, is, and there's a lot of discussion about this, is the handlebars and the risers and all that. So people are going back and forth, like they think that you have to buy bars made for Triumph, and they have these 8-hanger bars. Then of course you have the bobber bars, and then you have the original Speedmaster bars. There may be one or two more out there. But the problem that people have is with these risers. They can't put in risers that work properly, or if you get the ones from either Motone or Triumph, they're pinned with the ape hangers, because otherwise the ape hangers will move back and forth, because I guess they're not knurled, and it's a safety issue. So I don't know why people are having so much trouble with that. I guess because the bars themselves are tall, and with leverage you can move them. These don't move at all. I got these. I live in the States. I live in California. I got these off a website. It's a popular, I want to say JD Cycles, but I don't think it was them. Anyway, they sell a lot of parts for Harleys, and that's what these are primarily made for. So whereas the stock system has just the clamps right here, and it's 12 millimeter bolts going up through, right? And because it's metric, and then the spread on this is I believe 4 inches. I think for a Harley it's like 3.5 or 3 5/8, something like that. So if you get the solid ones that you would buy for aftermarket for like a big hog or something, that are connected here, they're going to be strong, but they won't work because this is about 4 inches or so. So you're left with having these individual ones not connected to each other. These are heavy steel, chrome plated, and the bolts that go through here are 1/2 inch, because this is SAE standard. So my thing was I was trying to make some kind of reinforced sleeves, isolation sleeves with a rubber inside here, with a metal sleeve in between, to work with the 1/2 inch bolts. And I did. I rigged something up that I got from some hardware stores, and the bars moved. It didn't work. The rubber wasn't stiff enough. It just wasn't designed to go in here. I think these rubbers are tapered and all that. So what I did was, it was a simple solution. I just drilled out the existing ones that were in here. I took them out. I held them in my hand. I ran a drill bit, 1/2 inch drill bit through them. I drilled them out, which opened them up just a little bit, like a millimeter, right, from 12 to 13. The 1/2 inch bolts went through with interference, so they were real tight, like they're supposed to be. And then I cinched these up until they were snug. I put these bars on, and I lined everything up the way I wanted it, orientated it, tightened these up, and then went back down and tightened these up, and everything's perfectly aligned. And I can't really show you because it's just one hand here. You can't move this. You cannot move this at all. So it's safe, and I use the bobber bars, and they're like flat tracker bars, and they work perfect. So I settled for three. This is like 3 1/4 inch rise, and it has a 2 inch back sweep. this part going back, right? So, and you can see the offset. It put it in a perfect spot. It clears the tank. I can still sit upright somewhat because I don't like the cafe leaning forward thing on and putting weight on my wrist. It's just awkward. This is not a cafe bike. You know, I mean, it comes as a cruiser. I got it set up as kind of a road bike. It makes an excellent road bike, you know, just like, you know, for burning up the back roads. It's a fantastic handling machine now. Whereas before, with the beach bars, you know, yeah, you had to be, it was a little hairy with those beach bars. But this is a totally different setup. And, you know, you don't have to use, you can use any bars you want. There's a hole here on both sides, right, for this thing to lock into so it doesn't twist. And I've heard people talk about, well, there's a hole drilled in the bars from Triumph and stuff, and these have the hole in it because these are from the bobber, and all this setup on the bobber is the same, right? These controls and everything. But any bar that you buy, just use your old bar to measure and target where the hole would be, set up your new bars and twist them and orientate them into the position you want, mark and drill, and then take them back off and drill that hole that you need to drill to lock the pin in. It's as simple as that. The other thing was the mirrors. These are Arlen Ness mirrors. I can't remember where I got these, but I had to get these offsets to push it out further. Not only do they look good, but they push it back they push it out this way. You know, you can see they push it out that way, and they bring it over just enough. Whereas before, when I just bought them, and I had these hooked directly into here, and you know, the mirror was like at my, you know, at my breastbone or my shoulder. It's just, you couldn't see, you know, my body was in the way, so they weren't very useful. Same here. Where's it in there? And I found these. I don't remember, but it wasn't that difficult to find those. And I just had to get some. This is a spacer I got at my local hardware store. It's just chrome. Same right there. There's another one. It's that one. This one's a little taller. You know, and and then, you know, obviously I had to get longer metric bolts for it and stuff like that. And you know, I like the look. I like the look. A little bit dirty. It's my OCD. Because I don't like the ones on the hand I don't like the ones down here that they put on the bars and then they stick out here. I like to split lanes, and I like everything to be compact. So that's why I got a soft bag. You know, I got a bag so I can carry some stuff. And I just took this, and this is simply, either this was flipped from this side, it goes on that side, I believe, or I think I just have it upside down, this here, and it mounts perfectly. So it mounts down here where the chain guard mounts. And then it mounts up here, and then, you know, this is the long piece down here, and this is the short piece. So I think this actually, normally this would just flip over, and if you do that, it hangs lower, and then it hangs back here, and then it's in the way of the exhaust system. And then this exhaust system, real quick, this exhaust system is a Jekyll and Hyde exhaust system that has an electrically controlled valve on both sides. So there's a butterfly valve in there. So when you go to start it, and let me start it. So this is street legal in the South because it's being baffled because that valve inside there is closed, preventing it from straight piping. And you can hear it. But if you press, I put the button up here because, you know, where else would you want it? So you press this button, and immediately you can hear the difference. You know, it turns it into a beast. quiet again. I had British Custom straight pipes on there. They had the turnouts on the end, and they were loud and raspy, and you couldn't control them. And so I cut the turnouts off, the ends of the turnouts, and put on some brass finishers on the end. I machined from some brass fittings I got, and they look really cool and everything, but I still needed to put baffles in them. And I think it's only 1 1/4 inch, 3/8 pipe or tubing, on the exhaust system. So I got some baffles from eBay, and I made some stuff, and I wrapped it with fiberglass, and I just experimented. I worked on that for weeks, just different baffles I put in there to try to quiet it down, and it was just futile. And I did that because, the cops, I got followed by one cop, and I managed to lose him, but he was like searching all over for me. I mean, like, I could see him, he couldn't see me because I kind of hid behind a building. And the guy was frantically driving around a residential neighborhood looking for him, just simply because I drove past him and he could hear my pipes. So, young sheriff's deputy, he probably wanted to write me up. I'm sure he did. Ironically, here I am just riding with, a loud exhaust. He turns around, spends about 15 or 20 minutes looking for me, driving like a frickin' maniac through an apartment complexes. And, and I was kind of hiding in the back where he couldn't see me. So after that, I was like, I'm going to get a ticket for this. They don't write the Harleys up for some reason, but, he's probably a young cop and looked at this bike and thought, oh, the guy's got a racing bike. So anyway, at that point, I'm like, I don't want to get any citations on this bike. Because, I just don't want them riding me. I just don't want, you know how it is with the cops. I mean, you get written up, then you get written up again. You got to go to court. And it's just the system just starts milking you for money and making your life, I mean, they just want to take the joy out of your life, first of all. What's with the noise ordinance on these things and choking them down like they do? It's just ridiculous. But I mean, I don't want to. I'm ranting now. So anyway, I saw these Jekyll and Hydes. I think it was on what's that, Thornton 100 website, YouTube channel. They did a project and they put them on there, and I saw those, and I'm like, you know what? That's the solution right there. So I mean, now if I go by a cop, I just press the button, it goes silent, and the cop's like, oh yeah, nice and quiet. And I don't have any problems, even if I go by a cop and it's really loud and he turns around to chase me down or something, you just press the button. It's quiet. He's like, I guess it wasn't him. So anyway, this really works for me. It was $2,500, $2,600, something like that. It was a lot of money, but it solved the problem. And the pipes are swept up higher. They're smaller than the stock ones, and you don't scrape. I mean, you can lay this bike down, you won't scrape. So anyway, those are the mods that I made. I know the biggest issue that people were having, that they talk about the most, it really is this setup up here with the bars. And I'm telling you, it's a very easy solution. You can get these, and they have these in all different lengths, different sweeps going back. They range from $80 to $120, $130. Everything's gone up now. I got these for probably $80, maybe even less. And they're not cheap. They're heavy duty. And like I said, these inserts, you just run if you get something like this that's 1/2 inch, which is even better than the 12 mil, just ream them out with a 1/2 inch drill bit. It's very simple. I mean, all you're doing is cutting through rubber. Because I believe the sleeve, I can't remember if I drilled through the sleeve of the rubber now. It's been a long time. But it was a very easy fix. And then you can use the isolation rubbers and sleeve that are meant to be in here in the first place. And you get then you don't have to buy the 8 bars. You can, once you put the risers on and get the height that you want, you can go to any style bar that you want, you know, and you won't have to worry about their pinned and all that stuff, and you can set it up the way you want. So it opens up a lot of options on different bars, because the 8 bars, in my opinion, they don't look that great on, and they don't look great on these bikes, but that's just my opinion, you know. So I recommend this if you're not happy with your bars, and I definitely recommend getting the fuel trim remapped. I mean, you're gonna be glad you did. I mean, who doesn't want like 20 more horsepower? The Thruxton has the same engine as this, and it's got like 15 more horse. I mean, and I think there's more to give. I think this has more to give, but I'm not gonna go into messing with the injectors and all that stuff. I'm happy with the power now. I was happy with the power before, but it's I just wanted to get it to run smoother. I didn't realize how much it would open up and how the power curve would improve so dramatically, but it did. So that was less than $300. You got to buy a little part for the hookup to the ECU, where the engine analyzer hookup is, the OBD sensor, whatever they call it. Other than that, and then there's a free program put on your phone, or you can put it on a laptop, and you can go in there and you can do all kinds of other tweaks besides that as well. So anyway, I thought I'd let you know. Okay, bye.